Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your heart rate spikes. Your jaw clenches. You're still angry 20 minutes later. A coworker makes a passive-aggressive comment. You replay it in your head for hours. Your girlfriend doesn't text back. You check your phone 40 times. You are being controlled, not by other people, by your own nervous system. Your emotions are a leash, and everyone around you is holding it. The modern man is a slave to his reactions. He thinks freedom is doing whatever he wants. But he can't even control what he feels. Miyamoto Musashi spent his entire life mastering one skill that made him unbeatable in over 60 duels. It wasn't swordsmanship. It was emotional invincibility. He called it Fudoshin, the immovable mind. Today, you're going to learn how to build it. Let's define what we're talking about. Fudoshin doesn't mean not feeling anything. It means your mind doesn't move when it's struck. Picture a massive boulder in a river. The water crashes against it. The boulder doesn't budge. That's the state Musashi operated from. No matter what happened in a duel, his internal state remained ice cold. Now, compare that to you. Someone insults you. Your amygdala, the primitive alarm system in your brain, detects a threat. Within milliseconds, it triggers a surge of adrenaline through your bloodstream. Your heart pounds. Your muscles tense. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thinking, struggles to regulate the emotional surge. The rational part of your brain is still there, but it's fighting against a tidal wave of survival programming. You say something you regret. You make decisions you can't take back. You react instead of respond. This is what psychologists call an amygdala hijack. Your emotional brain has seized control, and your rational brain is scrambling to keep up. Here's the brutal truth. Every time you react emotionally, you're proving you can be controlled. The person who triggered you just demonstrated they have power over your internal state. They pushed a button, and you performed exactly as programmed. You handed them the remote control to your nervous system. Musashi understood this weakness in human nature. He studied it. He weaponized it. In his duels, he would deliberately provoke opponents, show up late, use unorthodox stances, insult their teacher. Why? Because an emotional opponent is a predictable opponent. Anger makes you tunnel vision. Fear makes you hesitate. Pride makes you reckless. Musashi stayed calm while his enemies drowned in their own reactions. But here's what most people miss. Musashi wasn't born with Fudoshin. He built it through deliberate practice. He trained his nervous system the same way you train a muscle. In the Book of Five Rings, he distinguishes between Ken and Kan. Ken is surface seeing, looking at what's right in front of you. Kan is perception, seeing what's beneath the surface. Most men only develop Ken. They see the insult but miss the strategy behind it. They see the threat but miss the opportunity. Musashi trained Kan. He saw through his opponents before they even moved. And that's exactly what we're going to teach you. Not through meditation apps or breathing exercises, through the same brutal methods Musashi used 400 years ago. Methods that work because they're based on how your brain actually functions, not how you wish it functioned. The modern world is specifically designed to keep you emotionally reactive. Social media algorithms profit from your outrage. News channels monetize your fear. Your boss benefits when you're anxious enough to overwork, but not confident enough to demand more. You are surrounded by people who need you to stay emotionally weak. Building Fudoshin is an act of psychological independence. There's a story that perfectly captures what we're building toward. It comes from Takuan Soho, a Zen monk who trained samurai in the art of the unfettered mind. He taught a principle called the mind like water. Picture a still pond. completely calm, perfectly reflective. Now, throw a pebble into it. The water responds instantly. Ripples spread outward. But watch what happens next. Within seconds, the pond returns to perfect stillness. No residue, no lingering disturbance. The water doesn't hold onto the impact. This is the exact opposite of how most men operate. Someone throws a pebble into their pond, and they're still making waves 3 days later. They can't let go. They ruminate. They imagine conversations that will never happen. They write mental scripts where they get the last word. Their internal state is permanently disturbed by events that lasted 5 seconds. Takuan taught that a samurai's mind must function like water. When an attack comes, you respond with perfect precision. No hesitation, no overthinking. But the moment the attack is over, your mind returns to absolute calm. No anger, no pride, no fear of the next attack. You are ready for whatever comes next because you're not carrying the weight of what just happened. Here's why this principle was lethal in combat. If a swordsman landed a strike on you and you got angry, you were already dead. Anger would make you chase revenge instead of watching for the next move. If you felt fear after being cut, you'd become defensive and predictable. If you felt shame because you made a mistake, you'd overcompensate and leave yourself open. The samurai who could return to stillness fastest was the samurai who survived. Musashi took this principle further. He understood that creating emotional disturbance in his opponent was as effective as any sword technique. In one documented encounter, he arrived hours late to a duel. His opponent had been standing in the sun, building rage with every passing minute. By the time Musashi appeared, the man's mind was a storm. Musashi's mind was a mirror. The duel was over in moments. Musashi struck once. His opponent never returned to stillness. He never had a chance. Now let's extract the tactical lesson. The goal isn't to avoid being disturbed. Pebbles will be thrown into your pond every single day. The goal is to return to stillness faster than your opponent can throw the next one. That's the hidden strategy. Speed of recovery, not strength of defense. The man who can reset his nervous system in 3 seconds will always beat the man who holds on to anger for 3 hours. This is what you need to train. Not the ability to never get hit. The ability to absorb the impact and return to calm before the next strike comes. In modern life, this means someone can insult you at 9 in the morning, and by 9:15, your nervous system is back to baseline. You're not thinking about it. You're not planning revenge. You're not telling the story to 5 different people. The water is still again. Musashi wrote about 2 types of spirit in combat: the water spirit and the void spirit. Most people only understand the first one. The water spirit is adaptability. When your opponent moves left, you flow right. When they attack high, you defend low. It's reactive intelligence, useful but incomplete. The void spirit is different. It's acting without hesitation because your mind is completely empty of attachment. You don't worry about winning. You don't fear losing. You don't think about what your opponent might do next. You simply move from emptiness. No internal dialogue, no second guessing, pure action. This is where most modern men fail catastrophically. They are addicted to thinking. They believe more analysis equals better decisions. So they hesitate. They consider options. They imagine outcomes. And while they're thinking, life is moving. Opportunities close. Threats multiply. The samurai who hesitates dies with a sword in his chest and a thought in his head. Musashi's solution was brutal. Train until action becomes automatic. Eliminate the gap between perception and response. When you see an opening, you strike. Not because you decided to strike, Because striking is the only possible response to that stimulus. Your body moves before your mind can interfere. This is what he meant by the void. It's not emptiness. It's the absence of interference between perception and action. Now apply this to emotional control. When someone disrespects you, what's your automatic response? Most men either explode or suppress. Both are forms of attachment. Exploding means you're attached to your ego. Suppressing means you're attached to being seen as calm. Neither is the void. The void is responding with perfect calibration because you have no investment in the outcome. You're not trying to win the interaction. You're not trying to prove anything. You simply respond in whatever way serves your long-term strategy, then return to stillness. Here's the principle that changes everything. Detachment increases precision. Not because you become reckless, because you become clear. When you don't need to win, you can see the board accurately. When you're not afraid to lose, you can take calculated risks. When you're not attached to being respected, you can choose silence over reaction. Detachment isn't weakness, it's strategic clarity. Musashi proved this in his final years. He stopped accepting duels, not because he was afraid, because he had nothing to prove. He had reached the void. No opponent could disturb his mind because his mind had no hooks for them to grab. No ego, no fear, no need for validation. He became emotionally untouchable by becoming strategically detached. He wrote the Book of 5 Rings from this state. Every word in that text comes from a mind that had transcended the need to prove itself. Here's your training protocol. This isn't theory. This is what you do starting today. First technique, the 3-second rule. When something triggers you, count to 3 before responding. Not in your head. Out loud if you have to. 1, 2, 3. This interrupts the adrenaline surge. It gives your prefrontal cortex time to regain regulatory control. 3 seconds is the difference between a reaction and a response, between being controlled and being in control. Second technique, reframe disrespect as intelligence gathering. When someone insults you, they just revealed their strategy. They're trying to pull you into an emotional reaction because that's the only battlefield where they think they can compete. Don't engage on their terms. Observe, nod, say nothing. Your silence forces them to continue revealing their position while you gather information. This is how silence becomes strategic advantage. Your calm exposes their chaos. Third technique, daily death meditation. Every morning, spend 60 seconds contemplating your own mortality. Not morbidly, strategically. Picture yourself at the end of your life. Now ask yourself if today's problems still matter from that perspective. The traffic that cut you off. The comment your boss made. The text that never came. From the perspective of your death, these things dissolve into nothing. This practice doesn't make you depressed. It makes you free. Musashi wrote in the Dokudo, "Accept everything just the way it is." When you accept that death is inevitable, you stop being controlled by things that don't matter. Fourth technique, the boundary protocol. When someone crosses a line, you respond exactly once with complete clarity. No emotion, no explanation, just a clear boundary. Don't do that again. That's it. No justification, no anger, no repeated warnings. You said it once. If they violate the boundary again, you reduce engagement without drama. No announcement, no explanation. You simply adjust the relationship based on demonstrated behavior. This is how you train people through consequences, not through emotional outbursts. Fifth technique, build witness consciousness. Start observing your emotional states in third person. He's feeling angry right now. His heart rate is elevated. His jaw is clenched. This creates psychological distance between you and the emotion. You're no longer the anger. You're the observer of the anger. This is similar to what Navy SEAL Commander Jocko Willink describes in Combat Leadership. He talks about detachment as the ability to step back mentally, assess the situation from multiple angles, and make clear decisions even while under fire. You feel the emotion, but you're not consumed by it. You observe it, assess it, and choose your response. Practice these 5 techniques for 30 days. Track your progress. Write down every time you successfully interrupted a reaction. Every time you chose observation over argument. Every time you remembered your mortality and the problem became smaller. You're not trying to become emotionless. You're training your nervous system to return to calm faster. You're building your Fudoshin, your immovable mind. In combat leadership, Jocko Willink discovered what Musashi knew 4 centuries earlier. The leaders who survived weren't the ones who never felt fear or pressure. They were the ones who could maintain situational awareness while emotions were running high. They could step back mentally, see the entire battlefield, and make clear decisions while chaos surrounded them. That ability to detach from the immediate emotional reaction while staying engaged with the tactical situation kept them alive. That's what made them effective under fire. You're not in physical combat, but you're in psychological combat every single day. Every notification is designed to hijack your attention. Every argument is designed to pull you into reaction. Every setback is designed to test your resolve. The world profits from your emotional reactivity. It needs you triggered. It needs you distracted. It needs you reactive. Building Fudoshin is how you develop psychological resilience in a system designed to keep you weak. Here's what you need to understand. Emotional stability isn't a destination. It's a daily practice. Musashi didn't wake up one day with a perfect mind. He forged it through decades of deliberate training. Every duel, every meditation, every moment of choosing stillness over reaction. He built his fortress one stone at a time. You're going to do the same. Starting today, you have a choice. You can continue being controlled by your reactions, letting other people's behavior dictate your internal state, getting angry at traffic, getting anxious about texts, getting offended by strangers on the internet. Or you can start building your immovable mind. Train the 3-second rule. Practice death meditation. Develop your witness consciousness. Use silence strategically. Become the man who cannot be shaken. This is the Katana mindset. Not positive thinking, not self-help. Strategic mental discipline. You're training your mind the same way Musashi trained his sword. Through repetition, through discipline, through the acceptance that mental weakness limits you and mental strength sets you free. The weak man reacts. The strong man responds. The master observes, returns to stillness, and acts only when action serves his strategy. Build your Fudoshin. Build your fortress. Become emotionally untouchable. If you're ready to commit to this training, subscribe to Katana Mindset. This is your enlistment in a different way of thinking, a different way of operating, a return to the discipline that built empires and forged legends. Master yourself, or the world will master you.